Hey everyone, it's time for another edition of Beaver Banter.
Beaver Sports Talk lives here.
It is the Beaver Banter podcast presented by Bemidji State University Alumni and Foundation. I'm CJ Baumgartner, joined by Ian Rivers. Always a great week to be a Beaver. The college hockey season has wrapped up. The transfer portal is open. There has been some pretty tough losses, some names coming in slowly as of the recording of this podcast through the portal. We're going to talk about that and get a spring sports recap and more as we continue in today's episode, Ian. But first of all, Frozen Four, in terms of the outcomes, Ian, how are we feeling? How do we feel about the way that the Frozen Four shook out this year?
There's not a best case scenario that could have happened, I don't think. But in terms of what we're looking at, this was kind of it. Like, for me, for my personal, beefs that I have, Michigan and North Dakota losing in the Frozen Four was perfect. And then from there, it's like, I guess I don't really have anything against Wisconsin. Like we had discussed, I believe, last week, if Wisconsin does win, you get to watch Mankato Twitter go up in flames. And then if Denver wins, like at least Wisconsin doesn't win a national title. So I think it was fine either way. Mike Hastings has just got to hate a third period against Denver. That's all I have to say about that. Blowing two leads in the national championship game and losing to Denver both times with two different schools, no less. So
Oof.
That's a tough one to swallow for
on a list of things you hate to see. That's got to be towards the top,
Yeah. Yep.
So the Frozen Four concludes. The college hockey season is over. And now in like a couple weeks, they'll be getting back on the ice for training and we'll be getting ready to roll with another college hockey season because it feels like it just lasts all year. So here we go. We begin the off season and the off season jumps in with the transfer portal opening up. And Ian, let's just first talk about the departures that we know about as of recording this podcast. Who has entered the transfer portal for Bemidji State?
Well, the biggest one, let me pull up the list now that I needed in front of me. The biggest one is obviously Casper Magnussen. That's a 30-plus point scorer from last year that is not going to be returning, and that makes two confirmed of that top line that was really, really cooking, especially earlier in the season. It really just sucks because you thought maybe if Casper and you could get Pierre back, maybe you'd have a little bit of juice, at least have that one line that could kind of carry you through tough moments in the season, and then maybe use the portal to add depth, use the CHL players to add more depth to your roster. But yeah, Casper Magnussen, let's see. Noah Quinn also from he's a kind of a depth piece. I liked Quinn a fair amount. I never really thought he got a fair shake, but whether that's because he just didn't show enough or, maybe the coaching staff just saw something they didn't like. It did feel like every time he was on the ice, there's plays were being made. You remember back to that season a couple of years ago where the Beavers won the McNaughton Cup. He wasn't necessarily one of the three when that third line or fourth line really started cooking, but he was rotating in and out with Reese Chittenden all year on that fourth line.
Who, by the way, he is reunited with this move.
Yes, because Quinn is headed to Canisius to pair with, of course, Reese Chittenden again in their senior years. Vincent LaBelle also in the transfer portal, and Ryan Henderson. I believe that's the only four names so far that we know of. Good news is that Pierre hasn't entered yet. We'll see if that keeps up. I don't know. I think that's a promising thing that we could maybe see.
You feel like if he was going to do it, it would be right as the portal opened up.
Right. And with the current state of where college sports are, like it really could happen at any time, but who knows? Who knows what's going on? It's kind of just the Wild West out there. The reports are that Casper Magnussen is headed to UND, which is, of course, not at all what we want to see. It's especially
no. In fact, it's one of the worst things we could see.
It's so disappointing, man. Casper's been one of my favorite players ever since he stepped foot on the ice his freshman season. You know, we talked about all those goal celebrations and how much emotion he pumped into it, and now being a 30-point scorer this last year for one of the most productive lines in the CCHA. And now he's going to play for your bitter rival. Of course, it's in a different conference, so we'll probably see him at one point next year. I'm almost certain North Dakota is going to be on the schedule yet again. But yeah, that's disappointing. It's disappointing to lose him, and to lose him to North Dakota, it kind of cuts a little bit deeper.
I think I just threw up a little bit in my mouth, actually.
Yeah.
That's
what it feels like.
Not ideal. Not ideal. It's the wrong green and white. Like that's not what we meant when we say playing green and white next year. And he's like, okay, and goes to the wrong one. So enjoy living in Grand Forks, I guess, for a year. So unfortunate. But all the best to those guys. But also, you left my favorite team, so not the best.
Yeah, I mean, there's a difference, right? Like when Polkamp left, he's a first-year guy, was a draft pick. Like we had seen the writing on the wall for maybe months before it happened. And he went to Denver, a team that we never have to see personally. Obviously, now national champion Eric Polkamp. Like, if North Dakota goes out and wins the national championship next year, I'm not really going to feel that good for Casper Magnussen. Like,
right,
maybe 3% because it was Casper Magnussen. And it was a player that I endeared so much. But just it's not going to be the same feeling that I have for Eric Polkamp. Now 2 years removed from his Bemidji State career. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like I hold nothing against Noah Quinn or Vincent LaBelle. Like these guys are all guys that are, who knows why they were told, like, were they told that they weren't going to have a spot on the team next year because they have plans to bring in a bunch of CHL kids next year and probably hit the transfer portal as well. The team success wasn't there very good, last year. So who knows what really
is
went
it
into
just
the
a straight
doing.
up money thing? Is it like, hey, somebody's NIL collective is going to come and give me a check that Bemidji State just can't quite write. And so, sorry, I mean, it all goes down to, and I'm not implying anything, but it all comes down to money. Maybe first of all, your situation, how you view the coaches, just how you view your time in a certain city. Like there's a ton of things that could go into it, all of which we have no idea why these guys for sure left the portal, but it mainly comes down to money and ice time, right? Like that has to be the two biggest things, generally speaking, for a player that hits the portal.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, Casper, he was going to get ice time, and that's always the argument. Like maybe he wants.
The problem
to have
is
a better
UND
shot
has a deeper NIL than Bemidji State.
Well, yeah, that very well could be too, and maybe he thinks he has a better chance at like maybe an AHL contract if he has this type of year with a bigger program. Like, I don't know, like could he come back and put up 35 points next year for Bemidji State? Like, yeah, absolutely, I believe so. But maybe a 25-point or 30-point season for North Dakota is more favorable for getting some sort of higher contract. Maybe that's and who knows? Maybe North Dakota just said, "Hey, we'll throw a bag at you to come play for us instead of them." And we don't know as of right now. So that's the unfortunate part. But the transfer portal giveth, the transfer portal taketh away. We did get a commitment, from what we know, from a forward from Air Force. Will Dawson has committed to Bemidji State. This is courtesy of Jared Roboto of the Bemidji Pioneer. Last year, 11 goals and 14 assists as a sophomore in Atlantic hockey. We're getting mixed signals in the Discord right now. That's all I'm going to say about it.
Which you should join, by the way, for all of this.
Exactly. This is the perfect spot to keep up with everything. If you don't have your Twitter notifications turned on, if you don't have Twitter, well, we'll find a way to get you the Discord if you don't, because most of the socials have the
on the Beaver Banter Facebook page. You can go get it
on
there.
Facebook as well. But yeah, get in the Beaver Banter Discord because you can. Hey, I wasn't watching Twitter right before the podcast started recording. I just happened to be looking at the Discord, and that's where somebody sent the link to Jared's tweet. It's a perfect spot to kind of condense all of the news for everything Bemidji State athletics into one. But yes, after that plug of the Discord, we're getting mixed reviews here it's a 25-point season, and I feel like that doesn't count for nothing, like I feel like you don't just luck into 25 points, but who knows, like there's been guys before where we've said, oh, who is this guy that's coming in? And all of a sudden it's a guy like Oliver Peer that comes and really has a transition well to a different league. And who knows, maybe that's a similar thing that could happen here for Dawson, but all in good time. If the coaching staff thinks that it's a good ad, then I guess I have to put my back behind it.
Right. And by the way, too, and I mean, maybe the rules are different this year, so correct me if I'm wrong, but remember, Bemidji State, they didn't really make a ton of how many portal moves did they make last year? Because it wasn't, I mean, Bemidji State's just not going to be a program that's necessarily rolling with the portal. They're going to maybe get a guy or two here or there. You're going to lose some to the portal. Really, what Bemidji State did last year was they added all the Canadian players like right in the fall. Remember, like we kind of were like, oh, they dropped their roster and we're like, oh, who the heck are these guys? So I don't know if that rule has changed. I don't know if they have to add guys sooner or what the deal is. I mean, maybe it's because it was the first year you could do it. How does that work, Ian? Do you know?
Yeah, I don't know. That's what I'm still kind of trying to brush up on is like, how does the
turns out this rule book doesn't make any sense.
Right. Like there's supposedly a window where players can enter the portal. And then I think once they're in there, they can sign anywhere. Whenever they want, from what I understand. Like it could take them 3 months to figure out where they want to go play hockey. It could take them 4 days. Like a lot of these guys, when you're seeing like Casper Magnussen, like as soon as it's reported that he's entering the transfer portal, everybody knows that he's headed to UND. Evan Murr of Minnesota State, within hours, he knows he's going to Minnesota. Like these guys were in contact with these schools beforehand.
You enter the transfer portal with a do not contact on me, which is like, like, yeah. So
exactly. So
yeah,
I'm still kind of figuring out exactly what the new windows are going to look like. And I'm sure by the time you get it all down, guess what? It's going to change again. The rules are all going to change again. So who knows? But yeah, it was last year. There was quite a few transfers actually, like, cause you consider all the CHL guys, or not CHL, the ECHL guys that came in. Like, is that technically a transfer? Oliver Peer, even though I believe he was playing U Sports, was a transfer, as well as Connor McLennan. So even though they're not coming from an NCAA university, they were still, I think, technically counted as transfers. But again, we didn't learn about like 6 of those guys until right before the season. So who knows what'll happen this year? It's until they release the official roster, like before the season, I feel like we're not going to know too much because there was nothing about any of these guys until right before the season started. And then we kind of got excited and had a good first semester. And then, it kind of fell off the rails, but
yeah, just a little bit. So yeah, a lot of moving parts. Obviously, more news still to come in the transfer portal over the coming weeks. We'll see who Bemidji State takes in, if anybody else leaves. But hey, I think, and again, I don't want to speak ahead of myself. So I don't want us to spend a bunch of time talking about a certain thing, only for it to be completely flipped on its head by the time the podcast comes out, which has happened before. But Ian, I think let's just kind of let's go with both sides of the coin here. Let's first start off with, if I know Bemidji State's not going to make a huge move through the transfer portal, and I know that like it can only kind of be a detriment, this portal, for the Beavers, but how does the outlook look for this team if Peer does stay on?
I think if Peer stays, the outlook is better than if he leaves, right? Like I find it hard to believe, and that's kind of the same with Magnussen too. Like I just find it hard to believe that the Beavers are going to find a guy that's going to upgrade over Oliver Peer's success. Now, they just did it, right? Like, we're like, oh my gosh, how are we ever going to find a guy that can replace Jackson Judding? And like Peer, obviously different role than Judding had on the team. But, his wasn't the face-offs that like Judding's face-off percentage was like so much higher than everybody else on the team. And like one of the tops in the conference, if not the top, I can't remember. But Peer was like, oh yeah, I'm going to get you more points than Judding got. Like, so who knows, direct correlation 1-to-1. But yeah, I think it'd be easier to build a team around Oliver Peer next year than it would be to try to find somebody to replace that production and then still find more depth pieces to replace, everything else that you're going to end up losing here over the next week or so, I'm sure, with all the names that are going to be coming in the portal. Because I don't know if we've seen the last. That's the thing that does worry me. If there is one thing that worries me, like with a guy of Pierce's stature, well, not stature, but profile, I would figure that guy would be in the portal like right away. And because he's not, that kind of gives me hope that he's going to be back for the Beavers next year. But again, you just never know how things are going to play out. But I don't know if we've necessarily seen the last name to go into the portal for the Beavers. We just saw a commitment. Maybe now, that maybe takes up some of my minutes next year. I got to bounce out. Like I can't stay here. But
it's all a big domino effect. So, and
exactly.
I guess kind of the flip side would be if Pierre does put his name in the portal, I mean, how bad are things looking?
If Pierre puts his name in the portal, then I think that we've lost a lot of point production. And it's not something we haven't recovered from before, but you saw the drop off after that 2023 season, 23-24, yeah, where we had those four guys that had so many of our points, Leighton Road, and it was
Polkamp,
and it was Kyle Loft, and those three all left, and it was really hard to reproduce that. And this last year, you saw guys step up and get a lot of points, but the success on the ice didn't necessarily correlate with that. It was a little bit difficult to, who knows what exactly happened there. Maybe it was just a worse defensive season because you lost Matthias Scholl, and Hildebrand was still getting his feet wet, which, if he sticks around, that's another big thing, keeping him around, because he showed real flashes at the end of last season of being a very capable goaltender that can go night in and night out. So, yeah, losing him would stink. I do think they could have the opportunity to replace him in the aggregate. Are we going to just find another 30-point scorer out of the portal? Who knows? I mean, I hope so. I hope we can find four of them. That'd be awesome.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's a tough thing to do. It's a tough thing to do, especially in the Tom Serratori system that doesn't necessarily – like getting 30 points is, I think, a really big accomplishment in this system because it just doesn't lend to super high point scoring seasons. Like you're not going to see tons and tons and tons and tons of points like all the time from these teams. It's built off of defense. It's built off of getting the puck in deep and playing it around the boards. And of course, that's the thing about hockey is even if you play a defensive style, if you shoot the puck and it goes in the net, like you could have 7 shots. We just saw it in the national championship game. Like Wisconsin had Denver had 7 shots heading into the third period. It didn't matter because some of the shots in the third period they had went in. So it's all kind of relative. And, maybe I'm rambling a little bit here, but, I think it would be obviously very much easier to rebuild and try to have success next year if Oliver Pierre does stay. But who knows? It's kind of just a cross your fingers and wait game at this point. It's scary out there, man. I think the portal itself is more of a net negative for a team like BSU. At the end of the day, I do think the portal is a net negative for BSU. The thing that really helps, and it will help keep schools like BSU afloat, is the CHL. Like, if they can continue to pick through that and find really good, we got 2, I think, really good players from the CHL last year, at least. I'm thinking Hildebrand, I'm thinking Nemetsnikov. Those are 2 players that I think we can really start to build around for the future. Both are just going to be sophomores this next year. And who knows, if you can keep getting 2 to 3 of those guys every year, obviously you need to have some recruiting classes that are maybe bigger than just 2 hits, but I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. I think that the outlook for next year, as of right now, is still positive. We still need to see what happens in the portal for entries. We do need to pick up more pieces, but if we don't lose anybody else super major, Max Vig, a Nemetsnikov, a Hildebrand, those are guys that we're going to want to keep around. If we can do that, then I think we're sitting in pretty good shape as long as we can plug a few of the holes in the transfer portal going forward.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be an interesting situation. I don't quite know how it's going to fully shake out, but for Bemidji State, like you said, again, they can handle losing players. They've done it before. It's just the fact of, again, it gets a little bit harder to try and catch back up and catch back up and catch back up. And you can recreate players in the aggregate. In theory, it opens up a spot for somebody who maybe doesn't get an opportunity, who could be that high scorer. But yeah, I think if Bemidji State can hang on, and I mean, I think relatively speaking, just where Bemidji State is at in the college hockey hierarchy, like you should expect every single year you're going to lose a player or two that played a significant role to the portal. So it's kind of that process of having to find it again. And I think if Magnussen and others are the only ones you lose, obviously you don't want to lose them, but it's not like we just lost that guy. We have no idea how we're going to fill that production for next year. And I think if this is all it is for the portal, I think it's not great, but I think it's like, okay, we can get through this. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And you're going to have to adapt. I mean, it's adapt or die at this point, God forbid, we don't want to be that Mercyhurst, a couple of years from now where all of a sudden you're getting the notification that the hockey program's been cut. I think that they've done a decent job. Last year, it just didn't go as well as you needed it to. Like the wheels kind of just fell off. But, you could have seen a world where maybe some of those close games in the second half of the season go a different way, and then you're a little bit closer. I mean, the race was so tight at the top. If you had just been 7 or 8 points closer, if you could manage to pick up a couple more regulation wins in the first half of the year, maybe get to overtime a couple more times in the second half of the year instead of getting blown out. If you can find a couple more points here or there, you very well could have been in the hunt at the end of the year. So who knows one way or the other what it would have meant last year. But yeah, I think that they've done a good enough job of kind of keeping the talent cycling in and out for what it's worth. And the CHL being open now for recruitment definitely makes that a lot easier.
Just giving a bigger pool, right? Like it's just adding more people. There's only so many spots on a college hockey team, and there's only so many top line spots. And if you're one of those guys who feels like you want to play top line college hockey, you're maybe not going to get that opportunity at a UND, at a Gophers, at a wherever, where Bemidji State can give you that opportunity. And again, just the more bodies you put in, the less likely they are to go somewhere else. The more likely you are to at least get them in the conversation and get them here and promise them a spot on a college hockey roster. So just the opening up the potential player pool has certainly helped the Beavers in that situation. So, all right, we'll get more update on the transfer portal next week. And I think, hopefully when the dust officially settles, I mean, we got to get Jared, we got to get Lucas back on the pod, Jared Urbeto of the Bemidji Pioneer, and of course, Lucas of Beaver territory back on the pod to talk about some of this stuff, because we follow the portal. We try and do it the best we can, but those guys are like experts on that and can fully break that down. So that is coming at some point, we hope, as long as it aligns with their schedules. So to get those guys on and talk. So, all right. And we have a lot to talk about with some other stuff in spring sports. Before we do that, I do want to remind you that the Beaver Banter podcast is presented by Bemidji State Alumni and Foundation. Once a Beaver, always a Beaver. The Bemidji State Alumni and Foundation is here to keep that green and white pride going strong for its 50,000 graduates around the world. From scholarships that open doors for students to events that bring BSU alumni and friends together, you can get connected, give back, and leave a legacy at Bemidji State. Whether you're a proud BSU grad, a local supporter, or like Ian and I, you just love cheering on the Beavers, come be a part of the action at bsualumni.org. That's bsualumni.org. Bemidji State Alumni and Foundation, proud supporters of the Beaver Banter podcast. Okay, Ian. So now as we move on, let's continue to roll through the spring sports gauntlet, if you will, continuing through Bemidji State. We are continuously kind of working our way through that spring sports season. It looks finally like spring has turned around the corner, but that's still not stopping things from getting moved. Like announced earlier, Bemidji State softball series against Minnesota Duluth has gotten moved to April 22nd. So they are pushing that to the middle of next week. That was announced last week for the doubleheader. And so that's again where that's going again, updated on the schedule. on bsubeavers.com. But looking at the Beavers right now for softball, they are 9-30 on the campaign. And they have games that took place against Jamestown. Unfortunately, couldn't quite pull those out. They lost 5-1. They lost 8-4. And then they were able to split in a series with Northern State in Aberdeen. So they went 1-4 over the course of the weekend. They got a 2-1 victory on Sunday's matchup. And again, this has been a Beaver team where it's just been offense and trying to get runs across consistently has just been a challenge for this team. And so if you want to try and snap the streak, going to need a good day in the circle from your pitchers. And Bemidji State got that with Sidney Klossman giving them the win in that second game for the Beavers. And of course, in the game, you have Jackie Larson getting 3 hits in the affair. Aubrey Ackerman gets a hit. And then you have Elena DeGraff with a hit and an RBI. Jillian Johnson also knocks a hit in 3 trips to the plate as well for the Beavers in that second game. And they were able to get a win. They score that final, or that go-ahead run, I should say, in the 6th inning, and they hang on and win the game in 8 for that one. So, and then Bemidji State loses that first game of the doubleheader 8-5, thanks to an 8-run 3rd inning for Northern State. So, for the Beavers, they sit at 9-30 on the campaign. If you want to look where the schedule takes them next, they're home on Thursday of this week. They have a pink out doubleheader at the Chet is where it says it's going to be at. That softball field not quite dried up yet. So they're going to be playing it at Chet Anderson Stadium 1 and 3 o'clock on Thursday afternoon against MSUM. And then Sunday, they'll have a doubleheader in Crookston. So some opportunities for the Beavers with 4 games over the next week. And then, of course, they have that UMD series in the middle of the 22nd. So that's where things stand for the softball team. Ian, moving on, let's talk a little BSU baseball for Bemidji State. They're 7-24 on the campaign, and they were able to get a win and split the doubleheader against Jamestown, but they also got swept in that doubleheader against Minnesota State, which we talked about last week. So just a couple games for the Beavers since the last time we've cracked open the microphone, and it was a 6-5 loss and a 9-7 win. So 2 close games in the 9-7 win at Ronkin Field in Sioux Falls. Elias Harris was able to get Jacob Smith was able to get the win on the mound for Bemidji State. Castle Huggard got the save, his 2nd of the season. And again, Bemidji State able to hang on and win 9-7 thanks to a 3-run first inning, a 4-run second inning, and they were able to hang on and win from there. And who else but Bo Toma? 2 hits, including a home run. And I know we talked with Coach Schaefer about this a couple weeks ago, Ian, and you can go back and listen to that show, but Bo Toma has really been the leader of this Beaver lineup.
Yeah, he's been the driving force behind the success whenever the Beavers are able to get a lot of runs in that column, and he had another good weekend this weekend. It's unfortunate that it was only 1 win. Jamestown was a team you thought maybe you could get both of them off of. They're sitting down there at the bottom of the conference with you, but at the end of the day, it's just that's that one little game, man. Like, you're so close. Like this is what we're talking about a little bit with hockey earlier. Some of these games that you could just man, if we could have just done one thing better, maybe we have 2 wins this weekend instead of 1. And if you could do that 3 or 4 times over the course of the season, you're looking at, right, 3 or 4 more wins in the win column. But yeah, Toma, he's really stepped up and had a big weekend this weekend.
Has a .386 batting average, has started all 31 games for the Beavers so far this season, has 6 home runs, 22 RBI, 11 doubles, 1 triple, and overall fielding percentage of .955. So certainly somebody who's been a really good player for the Beavers this season, slugging .658, which is highest on the team throughout the campaign. I should say Noah Drush has a 60 OPS. So that is the highest on the team. OPS, by the way, on base plus slugging. So that's what it looks like there. For the Beaver baseball team, we slide and we continue to look through our spring sports on Bemidji State. And as we've already taken a look on the diamond, let's go to the track and look for Bemidji State track and field. We talked last week about Bemidji State's head coaching vacancy and interim and all that kind of stuff. And so go back to last week's show and listen to that. But Bemidji State competed at the NDSU Spring Classic. Now it's a 2-day event. On Saturday, only the hammer throw took place there for the Beavers, and then the rest of them competed on Sunday. And Beavers, they grabbed 3 NCAA ranking performances on the day. So 3 NCAA Division II top 100 finishes for Trista Bilden, Allison Levine, and Maggie McCarthy. Levine, by the way, taking 26th in discus. So it's really cool for all of them getting those top 100 finishes. And now as they get ready to go for the California meets and then go to South Dakota for some, we'll see how things shake out. But again, Levine had a 27.31 time in the 200 meter. That was ranked 14th. And again, she PR'd there. Some of the ranked performances, Maggie McCarthy in the 3,000 meter steeplechase had a time of 11:31.4, which ranks 87th in Division II. Allison Levine was second in the discus throw with a 46.74 meter toss, and that's ranked 26th in Division II. And then Trista Bilden, 38.88 meters in the javelin. She took third in the meet, and NCAA Division II, number 81. So congratulations to her. By the way, Kate Martin in the shot has a personal best as well. So really good day for the Beavers. Now they move on to that California road trip, and we see how things go for the rest of the season. But Ian, always cool when you can come away with 3 NCAA ranked appearances on the day.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. And of course, they're finishing pretty high in the meet as well. Nobody able to win, unfortunately, but a couple of second places and a third place as well.
Right, especially in a meet when Division I teams are there and things like that. Good, other NSIC teams in the region. Really good kind of barometer for where they're at.
Yeah, El Betcher as well. I don't know if you brought that one up. That's a new personal best in the hammer throw, as well as a new personal best for Allison Levine in the 200 meter to add to her discus throw personal best, which you of course touched on with the 26th in Division II.
So there you go. The Dewey Donnet Classic in Aberdeen is on Thursday, and it looks like they got some dates kind of switched around here. So it looks like we have some clarity now for the team. It looks like the California road trips are not on the schedule as I'm looking at them here. Their Dewey Donnet Classics in Aberdeen on Thursday, and then they have the Kip Jarvin Open next week, at the end of next week in Simpson, Iowa. Same thing with the Drake Relays in Des Moines and the Grandview Viking Classic in Des Moines over that same weekend as well for the Beavers. And so again, as it says, for Bemidji State and for the things that they're doing. So it looks like it says that the Beavers are scheduled to go to Southern California for the Cal State LA Twilight and the Brian Clay Invitational. But again, it's kind of it's a little all over the place. It's not on the schedule, but it's on the update from the track and field site on bsubeavers.com. So either way, wherever the Beavers are competing, going to be having a pretty good one. And it just feels like, again, track and field is such a hard sport because it's so individualized, where it's like, yeah, a player gets a certain rank overall, but that's their PR and that's what they're going for. And they've gotten better over the course of the year and things like that. And yeah, they got third at this meet, but when they go to compete over at this meet, they'll end up doing this. So a lot of things that are at play for the Beavers in this outdoor track and field season, but cool milestones for them. And it's cool to see things rolling along here. So let's go from the track to the links. And as we talk about the Texas Roadhouse Spring Invitational in Rapid City, South Dakota, had a big South Dakota conversation last week, which you can go back on the podcast and listen. Hey, we've gotten some good feedback on that, by the way. I don't know if you saw. I can't remember if it was on YouTube or it was on Facebook. Somebody gave us a shout out for the South Dakota coverage.
Really? Okay. No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, no. So our good for our good South Dakota coverage. So I was trying to look up the name here while we're talking, but either way, so Bemidji State right now, Ian, competing in that Texas Roadhouse Invitational. Yesterday, they got second of 5. And right now, as they compete in day 2 upon this recording, let's take a look at the leaderboard and where things are at. As a team right now, Bemidji State still in second place, and they're probably going to stay that way. They're 8 strokes coming into the day, I should say. They were 8 strokes behind. So we'll see as they go into today's kind of rankings here. Logan Shep right now is 1 over par. He's only behind Bryson Ferris and Tyler White of South Dakota Mines. Those are the two guys that are ahead of him. And then you also on the leaderboard for the Beavers, Brogan Pascal is +5. Ryan Cullen is +6. So Charlie Williams is in there as well at a +7. Tegan LaPlante is at +8, and then Caden Lick is at +8 as well. Julius Arnkiel is +8. So that's where the Beavers are sitting right now as we're talking about that one. So hopefully some good things there, as this is going to be their final regular season or invitational golf meet before they get to the NSIC championships, which are this weekend. They're going to be heading on down to Missouri at Paradise Point Complex in Smithville for the NSIC championships, which are kind of a 3-day tournament. So we'll see if the Beavers can make the cut.
Yeah, of course. Last couple years ago, they had a lot of success down at the NSIC championship. If you look at the NSIC preview that took place just a few weeks ago, of course, they finished 5th out of 12 in that one. So we'll see if the Beavers can kind of reclaim their NSIC title from a couple of years ago. But so far, it looks like it's going pretty well in Rapid City, South Dakota, 2nd place. And I don't know. Yeah, there's no updated scores for today's action. So I don't know if it hasn't started yet. I would assume it has. It's already, pushing 5:30.
Well, they might be an hour back there, I guess, if they're that far west.
Yeah, I suppose.
But that's
I always forget. Is Rapid City across that timeline?
Yeah, I think because
it might be
the western part of South Dakota. I think. Here we go back to the South Dakota.
Back to the South Dakota talk.
There we go. By the way, speaking of that, shout out Lauren Bell over on the Beaver Banter Facebook page. She made a comment on our podcast post saying, "quote Loved the South Dakota content." So there you go. We're regional. It's like Twins territory. It's Beaver territory. That's why we branded it that way.
Yes,
that's why the school branded it that way.
We're more than just the greater Bemidji area. We cover all things, Midwest.
Exactly. So we'll take that claim. All right. So that wraps things up for men's golf as we go around the ledger here and take a look over on the women's golf side of things as they again creep closer and closer as well to that golf championship for the conference for them as well. As I'm trying to pull up the official stat, my computer just being a little bit slow on me. Here we go. Right now the Beavers are competing in the Wildcat Classic, which is in Wayne, Nebraska at Wayne Country Club. And they're not going to be going too much further. They're going to be going towards Missouri next week. Middle of next week is the NSIC Women's Golf Championships. Beavers finished day 1, 11th out of 13. Now we'll see how they do on day 2 as the results come in for them. And again, just trying to find those right tune-ups and get ready for what will likely be for both of them. And again, I say that because I don't want to assume that anybody's going on, but likely the last golf meet of the school year. So a good opportunity for them to go in and get some good hits, get some good scores, and take that momentum going in through the summer.
Yeah, exactly. It looks like as of right now, they might have dropped 1 spot down to 12th in the team leaderboards. But I don't know if play has finished quite yet. So we'll see and keep you updated on that next week as we kind of come back, because it looks like, I don't know if you just said this or not. I was kind of looking through the scoreboard. But their NSIC championship is not over the weekend.
No, it's next week. Yeah,
next week. Yeah, you did. Yes, you did say that. Now that I'm hearing
it's like the middle of next week though, so it throws everything off. But I get why you want to have them on different weekends. Just like there's no point. Like you kind of want to let each of them have the weekend for themselves. You don't want to bury your own lead with your own news cycle. But
right.
Either way, best of luck to the lady golfers there. Best of luck to the guy golfers coming up this weekend. And I think that kind of turns our attention here, Ian, a little bit to we've kind of covered. What are we? Tennis. I think they, as we get ready, they're still they had their matches over the weekend and we said, hey, can you pick up a win here? Can you pick up a win there? And unfortunately, the Beavers just couldn't come away with a victory.
Yeah, they could not, unfortunately. They dropped both matches this weekend against The Marauders and the Jimmies. They fell 7-0 to Mary on Saturday, and they lost 4-3 to Jamestown on Sunday. I'm not gonna lie, dude, it was a little confusing going into the weekend because the BSUBeavers.com report came out and it said Beavers fall in 2 matches and have their postseason hopes dashed. And then the next day, they post and say, we're in to the NSIC tournament for the first time since 2021. And I'm like, well, hang on now. What is it? Like, what's going on here?
It's what they call pulling suspense. They're getting your emotions going.
It's a little weird because I don't exactly know why this is the case. If you look at the standings page, the Beavers are still ranked in the 6th spot or in the 7th spot, and Winona State's still right behind them at 3 and 6. But I think what happened is Jamestown must not be eligible, right? Because that would pick the Beavers up into the 6th spot. And Winona State, there was a protest in one of the matches from a couple weeks ago. I was looking at the page and I'm like, this says the Beavers won against Winona State 4-3 on protest. But if you click on the recap still says Beavers drop weekend matches against Warriors and Mavericks. BSU women's tennis falls to Winona State 4-3 and Minnesota State 6-1. So whatever happened in that protest flipped the win for the Beavers, and now the Beavers have the head-to-head. So even if Winona State wins this weekend against Minnesota State, they'll both be 4 and 6, and the Beavers sneak in to the last postseason spot. They have a flair for the dramatic. They wanted to do it the hard way, and that's exactly how they did it. But they got in nonetheless.
Not complaining
in
at the end of the day.
Tournament for the first time since 2021. Their first-round opponent will be Sioux Falls, who is the 3 seed in the NSIC. They went 7-3 in the conference this year, 8-10 overall. And the one time the Beavers played Sioux Falls, they lost 0-7 in Grand Forks, North Dakota. That was back in February, on February 22nd.
Plenty of time has passed since then.
Yeah, we'll see. We still do have a little bit of time in between games. The tournament is the weekend of April 24th through the 26th. So, yeah, Minnesota State still has a game to play just to kind of make up some ground, I suppose. Did you see what Lucas posted in the Discord, by the way, CJ?
Just now, or
no, about Augustana tennis over the weekend?
I did not. No,
I'll go and find it.
Unfortunately, I could not join the Discord as much this weekend, so I'm a little out of the loop.
No worries. All right, where did he post it? Probably in NSIC, right? Yeah, so the NSIC congratulated the Augustana Vikings on winning their 16th straight NSIC tennis regular season championship. The Vikings have now won 178 straight NSIC matches dating back to 2009. I didn't realize they were that dominant. I knew they were good.
They're pretty good.
I'm not going to lie to you. I have not followed tennis that closely other than the last 2 to 3 years now that we've been covering the tennis team more extensively. Yeah, they haven't lost an NSIC match since I was 12 years old.
The Twins were playing in the Metrodome at that point.
How do you even, I'd be curious to see how many sets they've dropped. What's their, I'm not going to go do the research myself, but how often do they actually drop a set? Right. That's ridiculous.
No, they've
been absolutely ridiculous.
Unfortunately, you got to hand it to them, and I hate doing that with Augie.
Yeah. Oh, my heavens. 10-0 this year. So Minnesota State will be the 2 seed. That means if the Beavers do win, I believe, unless the tournament reseeds, which let me go click on NSIC tournament. It hasn't updated the actual bracket yet because it's not official, even though it is. It doesn't say anything about reseeding the tournament, so I think that it just straight up would go and be the second. That would mean our second round matchup would be against Minnesota State if we are able to win that game against Sioux Falls. The match.
The match. There you go. Yeah, best of luck to the women's tennis team. And this is where, again, we talk about all the time with seasons, right? Like when you jump out to that great start, it just offers you so much wiggle room. Whereas before, if you bury yourself early, again, not that you're out of it officially, but now it's just that much harder. You have to be that much more perfect. You only have so much you only have so much margin for error over the course of a season, and you can whittle it down by so much over the course of the year. You're just inevitably going to. And if you burn it all up right away, it means that you have to be perfect the rest of the way. Whereas again, if you can get halfway through the year, like the Beavers did with a great record, it meant that even though you didn't have the best second half of your campaign, you still were able to hang on and get a playoff spot. So I'll take that. Let's go Beavers. Let's go make some hockey. Let's go make some tennis history. And go make a little run here and take care of things. So perfect. There we go. And for, again, the tennis tournament, that's all going to be in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. That's coming up at the end of next week. So we'll have a little more previewing it on next week's show. Ian, anything else we need to talk about before we get out of here?
I don't think so. I think we should thank our sponsors one last time before we get out of here. But I think we've covered everything other than maybe a second ad read.
Yeah, let's give them a shout out here.
Do you want to be a part of the team behind the teams at Bemidji State? Join hundreds of dedicated fans when you donate to Beaver Athletics and help BSU pursue its next championship. Your gift can power your favorite program, establish a scholarship for a student athlete you get to meet, and so much more. Every dollar brings the Beavers closer to raising another trophy. You can add to the proud tradition of success at Bemidji State. So don't wait. Give today at bsualumni.org/Beavers. That's BSUALUMNI.org/BEAVERS.
All right. So as we wrap things up today, as we get ready, we talked last week, remember, about Bemidji State football. We kind of broke down the way too early predictions for the football team. And you can tell we're homers because, first of all, you're listening to the Beaver Banter podcast, but also we predicted just a huge turnaround for the Beavers next year, which I will stand by. But we certainly talked about that. We went into our decisions and why we think this and all that stuff. That's all in last week's show. So go check that out. And don't look now, Ian, but all of a sudden, we only got a few more Beaver Banters left before we call it a school year. I don't know how to feel about that.
Yeah, it's it's coming up quick. It's coming up quick. It always seems to sneak up on you. As soon as those winter sports end, it kind of just right to the end of the year.
Winter sports take forever, and then once you're done with them, it's like, whoa, where are we at?
Yeah. If I'm not incorrect, I believe the spring game is this weekend.
Yeah, I can never find it on the calendar. I'm sure it's posted somewhere.
It's not on the calendar, but they did put a tweet out
that would make
yesterday,
sense.
maybe. But I guess maybe they didn't actually put the...
It's not on the schedule, I suppose, because it's technically not a game. So
Right.
It's a little bit of yeah, I would guess that would be...
Let me see if I can find the tweet from Bemidji
Here we
State
go. This is
football.
what we call an on-air production meeting.
We need to simplify the way that our Twitter accounts are separated, because I have to type in the entire name to get to Bemidji State football every time. Right. Yeah. See you at the chat in 2 weeks. It is April 18th at 2 p.m. So
Saturday.
This Saturday, coming up this Saturday. If you're interested in going to the BSU spring game, it is Saturday at 2 p.m.
And what's really fascinating about sorry to cut you off, you at the chat. What's really fascinating about this is that it's a spring scrimmage. It's not just like, oh, hey, half the team plays one way, half the team plays the other. It's the fact that they're playing MSUM in a spring game. So this is like a full-on our team versus their team situation, not like an internal split squad scrimmage.
Didn't they do that last year too with Duluth, I believe?
They might have. Yeah, I think so.
I think so.
But... Yeah, I'm not sure when that started. I mean, it's cool
I don't know,
because
maybe it's getting more popular at the Division II level. Like you feel like you'll get better reps when you're not practicing against people that you play against every day. And I don't know, interesting to say the least, as it's been, that way forever. And now the last at least 2 years and maybe 3, if I'm not mistaken, I can't remember who it would have been if it wasn't maybe but for sure for 2 years. I do remember doing this against Duluth last year, I want to say. that they've been doing this. But yeah, that's this weekend at the Chad Anderson Stadium if you are interested in attending that.
Yeah, and unfortunately, don't believe it'll be broadcast anywhere. It's the spring game, but again, BSU football on Twitter. I should look up the official at BSU Beavers FB on Twitter. I'm sure we'll be posting updates and some stats or just maybe the final score, things like that. Some certain highlights will be there as well. It's a meaningless game that's only used to kind of reward players for playing through the spring. But that being said, it's just a little bit of taste of Beaver football. And I know Bemidji State football did not have the best year last year, but I still, who doesn't enjoy spending a Saturday kicking your feet up and watching the Beavers play some football? So right. I miss the crew. I'll be quite honest. And I'm excited to get a little sneak peek of this team before we kind of go on the hiatus for the summer.
Yeah, it should be exciting. Unfortunately, won't be able to make it up for it. Don't have a dog sitter for the weekend, and I can't get up there. I'm, of course, dog sitting right now. If you're watching on the YouTube, this is not my normal background. I am watching the in-laws' dogs as they are in Florida. So got a house full of dogs right now.
I'm surprised none of them jumped up on your lap mid-recording.
No, Lilo's right here behind me. That's my dog. She's the only one that's kind of. The other ones are like, "What is all this equipment you just brought into the house?"
They're like, "He won't stop talking."
Yeah, exactly. But.
And meanwhile, your dog's just sitting there like, "Yep, this is nap time for me.
This is nap time. This is the usual around here, around this time on Tuesdays."
Yeah, it's Beaver banter, but to her, it's like ASMR or something like that. It just like softly lets her take a nap in the middle of the day. So, all right, that's the Beaver Banter podcast. Follow the Discord when you can. Follow us on all of socials, YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook, and we'll see you guys next time. Go Beavs.